Tragedy, humiliation, and death surround these two stories that portray such a raw view on the human mind. I will be talking about the Crucible and the short story of the Lottery. The Crucible and the Lottery show how the unwillingness to change or evolve can cause a society to become disruptive and total chaos. Without the push of resistance, a society can crumble easily, causing hysteria and the lack of logic or common sense to lead each individual to become victims of their society's madness. The character John Proctor from The Crucible and Tessie Hutchinson from The Lottery both become victims of their society's values. These two stories share the same theme of tragedy, death, and doom with the use of metaphor, irony, and symbolism. Although these two share the common idea, they both, however, display different actions through the characters between John and Tessie. These two stories grips the audience forever, making the audience wonder and analyze what the story's true essence means. The Crucible was a play written by Arthur Miller in 1953 based on the Salem witch trials during the period of McCarthyism in the United States. The Crucible is a very eventful play in which someone named Abigail Williams and a bunch of other children began to accuse the other residents of Salem of being a witch. Ultimately, Abigail wants a wife of a man named John Proctor. Everything was going relatively smoothly for her up until she accused Elizabeth Proctor of being a witch. However, John was not going to have that, and he defends his wife, but is later on put on to death. The Lottery is a short story written by Shirley Jackson in 1948 that tells the story of a small town that is holding a lottery. The story seems normal when it begins. Everyone's drawing papers from a black box that they refuse to replace because they don't want to break tradition. This goes for quite a bit until they get to Bill Hutchinson. He goes up to draw the last paper in the box, and it is very suspenseful. Everyone opens their paper and raises them in the air, except for Bill and his wife Tessie. Everyone looks to Bill, who then opens his paper, then to Tessie, who refuses to open her paper. Now you may be asking, why would someone not want a chance to win the lottery? The prize must be great, right? Well, Bill has to force the paper out of Tessie's hand, showing that she has won. Everyone proceeds to stone her. The end. In both of these stories, the central plot is driven by the same idea. Both stories involve their society who are strongly convinced and follow the same rules, traditions, whether it's a religion or a tradition passed down by previous generations. Both of these societies show changed values and traditions that have made innocent people victims. Both John Proctor and Tessie Hutchinson go through inhumane suffering, all for the unchanging, unlawful views society holds. In The Crucible, Salem is essentially ruled and judged by the Bible. It quotes, "Salem developed theocracy, a combination of point out and a religious electric power whose function was to keep the community along and to prevent almost any disunity that might open it to destruction by material or ideological enemies. If an individual were to question what the Bible says or oppose what the values of the Bible says, they are immediately shunned and seen as an enemy." For instance, in this scene with Hale, Proctor, and Elizabeth are shown from the reaction. Proctor, "I understand not what I've said. I might have said it. I have wondered if there are witches on the planet, although I cannot imagine they come in our midst now." Hale, "Then you do not believe?" Proctor, "I have no knowledge of it. In the Bible it talks of witches, and I will not deny them." Hale, "And you also, woman?" Elizabeth, I cannot imagine it." Hale, "You cannot?" This scene perfectly demonstrates that everyone must follow the Bible without opposition, or else you are seen as a threat. In The Lottery, we are hinted that the tradition of the lottery has been done for generations. When talking about not doing the tradition, the reaction is shock and absurdity.
First thing you know, everybody want to be going back to living in caves. Nobody work anymore. Live that way for a while. Used to be a saying, lottery in June, corn heavy soon. Next thing we'd know, we'd all be eating stewed chickweed and acorns. Langley! There's always been a lottery.
Mrs. Hutchinson becomes the victim of the tradition that she so well praised and loathed against of not continuing it. The main characters both end up suffering due to society's lack of unwillingness to change their values and traditions. In City Salem, John Proctor is judged in the courtroom where people only trust them. In this quote that shows right here, Paris, "You people seem not to comprehend that a minister is the Lord's man parish. A minister is not to be so slightly cross and contradicted." In The Lottery, the person who holds the most power is Mr. Stummers. Many people listen to him and take his judgment very seriously because he's the one who conducts the lottery. In this scene, this quote right here perfectly demonstrated. Daughters draw for the husbands. Families, Jesse, Mr. Summers said gently. Mr. Hutchinson respects Mr. Summers so much that in doing so, he tells his wife to, quote, shut up. In conclusion, the unwillingness to change and conform to authority of these two societies because of their beliefs, values, and traditions leads to the innocent people to become victims of such horrendous crime. The main character's serious consequence of questioning their authority or society's beliefs shows that the society will never change or never evolve to be better, or else more innocent people will die. It also shows that if their society does not evolve and change, then their society will easily crumble and become a haven for chaos.